My guest today used to be metalhead, but is all about acoustic guitars. Nowadays, he went viral before that term even existed. His percussive fingerstyle technique, reminiscent of one of his heroes, Michael Hedges, and melodic compositions prove that extraordinary talent will always find its audience. Welcome to this episode, Andy McKee.
Thanks, man. That was a really nice intro. Thank you.
Welcome. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great, man. Been over here in Europe for about 3 weeks now, and started in Ireland and the UK, and now here, and it's just been a blast, man. It's been a while since I've been over doing solo shows, and it's been just great, man.
It's been a while. Why was that?
Well, I started a trio project a couple of years ago with a couple of friends, Callum Graham and Trevor Gordon Hall, and so kind of focused on that for a while. And it's funny when you start a new project; it's almost like you're starting all over a bit. So we been kind of working on building that up. It's a group called Triplicity, is what we call it. So. So I haven't really done the solo thing for a little bit, but man, it's just been wonderful. The show has been incredible. I had a great show here last night, and tonight's in Utrecht and sold out at the Tivoli, and can't wait to see everybody, a lot of really great fans that have been following me for years. And I always go out and meet the fans after the show. So it's almost like seeing friends, people have been coming for 15 years. I was like, hey, I remember you, wow. Ruben or whoever,
Oh, nice.
Everybody. I try to keep up with everybody. So,
so how was it for you playing with two other musicians? I mean,
right.
What did that give you?
That is an excellent question, because this whole style is kind of focused on a solo approach, and that's what kind of drew me to it, is the expressiveness you can get with acoustic guitar and being very direct, and expressing yourself that way, and with the fingerstyle techniques and everything you can do. So you're kind of usually trying to cover all the bases, at once on a guitar. But playing with other people, it kind of frees you up a little bit, and you get to be more expressive maybe in certain ways that are difficult if you're trying to cover all the bases at once. So with the trio project, we took tunes from each guy and we kind of turned them into ensemble pieces and trusted each other to bring something interesting, but not, too intrusive at the same time. You still want the melodies to come out that are originally there, and just kind of add some color and texture to these pieces. We did that for each other on the album. So
that must have been an interesting process, because this fingerstyle, it's quite a, like you said, it's quite a solitary thing, and you express really directly what you feel like. What did you learn? Like also to pace yourself a bit, or to focus on some elements? Can you elaborate a little bit on that, perhaps?
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's you don't, like I said, you don't want to be too intrusive with the music that's already established if you're going to come up with some new parts. So yeah, kind of pulling back a bit, maybe, and just thinking, where can I add the right element here, or something a little interesting, give it a different character, but not overstep, and try to turn this into a whole different song or something, So, on this album, we actually used a variety of guitars, like baritone, high-strung guitar. Even I play actually some electric guitar in there too. Speaking of being a metalhead back in the day, I took a couple of like electric guitar solos. Nothing too, shred-tastic, but just this kind of an element of, different texture and like that. So we tried to rely on different instruments and different approaches to just kind of add some different texture and character to the tunes, really. Yeah.
It's also, I suppose, a different kind of vulnerability, right? To also give the other one space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to. Work collaboratively, So like the two guys, Callum and Trevor, we're just great friends already, I've had opportunities to be on the road and bring them with me, open a show, or they've gone and done shows together. And so we just found that we all got along so well, similar sense of humor, everything. So it was like, and to be honest too, when you're on the road solo, you can get kind of lonely and bored. So it's great when you've got friends with you, and so we were like, man, we should just do an album and see if we can hit the road together a bit more now and then. So, I had that kind of relationship with them. And so when it was decided to do music, we kind of already had an idea of who each of us were. It might not always work with certain players, maybe somebody wants to just shred, and you're like, I don't want to necessarily play with you. It's like the whole thing kind of becomes a bit silly, and maybe the piece of music gets diluted. And kind of a way you don't want. So it's just worked out great with those guys because we just have similar sensibilities as far as music goes.
Okay, you mentioned you're a metalhead back in the day. Yeah. Was metal really like the first music that really grabbed your attention? Like, wow, this is something special?
Yeah, I suppose so as a genre. The first album I ever bought, though, was the soundtrack to Rocky IV, the film. And a lot of people are like, what?
Rocky IV? What songs are on that one?
Well, the ones that caught me were the instrumental pieces. But, there was like Living in America by James Brown was on there. A few others. Survivor is on there as well, of course. But the sort of main composer behind the instrumental pieces was a guy named Vince DiCola. And I remember, watching that film as a kid and seeing him training, in the snow in Siberia. And there was this music and I was just moved. Like, I couldn't explain. Like, I didn't even need to see the movie. I could just listen to this music and it was so powerful to me. I couldn't hardly explain it. And it's this very, uplifting kind of music. It's called Training Montage. And really the main theme of it, it's constantly moving up. The chords are going up, 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 and then it changes keys a few times. But it's just got this really powerful feeling to it. And I was like, I got to get the music. I got to kind of get that cassette for Christmas, and ask my parents.
What age were you back then?
I must have been 7 or 8 years old. Yeah. And so that was really my first experience of feeling music. It was extraordinary,
It's funny because on that age, when I look at myself, at least, you become a person. So you are a person before, but my memories are much more clearer from that age onwards.
Yeah.
Than before, right?
Yeah.
Do you have that same experience?
Absolutely, yeah. And you've got young kids, so you know it's what's coming up soon, and they'll start to become their own person. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the memories before that are a bit more hazy, but you start to define what it is that you like in reality, what sort of things you enjoy. And so my first cassette was that because of instrumental music, so I've always had a connection with instrumental music, and there's been something about that where it makes you feel something, but there's no words, that has always seemed mysterious and powerful to me. And that's why I still do it, myself, just to try to express that emotive feeling just with music. It's incredidible. So, but
it's maybe even stronger than the film, right? I saw a composer once over a little piece of film play 5 different things, and you felt 5 completely different things, right? And the movie was the same. Like it's that strong, right?
Yeah, the emotive quality and the expressive nature of music, and then especially on not to dismiss instruments that aren't maybe electronic or keyboards or whatever, but there's something to me about when you hear someone's fingers on a string or playing violin or guitar or harp or drums, just the dynamics. Every moment there's a certain energy that they're putting into each note or each phrase, and that's the real beauty and art of music, I think. And the guitar is just perfect for that, in my opinion. So that's why I'm stuck with that.
So when you had that tape, can you tell me something about the process? Like, did you feel like I can reproduce this and even one step further also create something like this, or not
at
yet?
all? Not at all. No, not when I was that age. I was just involved with listening to it all the time. I had one of those Sony Walkman cassette players, and I would listen to that on the way to school and back. And I got into In Excess shortly after that. And then really the metal thing was just a short time after that. My sister used to record MTV videos onto VHS cassette. And so she'd have like these 2 hours of videos, So I put that on and was watching through some of it. And I remember Motley Crue came on with Home Sweet Home, and I thought that was cool. And my sister's boyfriend taught me how to play that on piano. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. But then the next video was Wasted Years by Iron Maiden. And that was another just, okay, like this is incredible, music. And the video too, I was kind of into horror movies a bit as a kid, zombies and stuff. And so Iron Maiden had Eddie, and in that video, they flipped through all of these images of Eddie. And I'm like, what is this zombie guy? He looks awesome, dude. And then the guitar part, I didn't even know if that was a guitar or what. It was just that, and I was just that is wicked cool.
Yeah.
And I was probably 8 years old, and I started to grow my hair out long, and everybody thought I was a girl at the grocery store hanging out with my mom. But but yeah, so Iron Maiden.
And you said, "No, I'm not a girl.
I am not a girl." Jeez.
So, but by that time, did you feel, okay, I also want to do this?
Still not yet. Yeah. So I had moved I'm from Kansas over in the States, and we moved to New Mexico for a little while in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I moved there, and, when we lived down there, I discovered Metallica, and they had the video for One on MTV came out. And that was another big one for me, where I was just so blown away and became a huge Metallica fan. But then for me, the guitar, it was when we moved back to Kansas. I was 12 years old, and this middle school had a class for guitar. And so I was so surprised that you could learn guitar at school. This is something I never thought, never heard of. So I was like, wow, I'll give it a shot, I guess. And so, started to learn basic guitar melodies, learning how to play like Yankee Doodle and Jingle Bells, on guitar. And then my dad got me a used classical guitar for my first guitar on my 13th birthday. And really, I've got to mention that right before that birthday, I think it was in December of maybe 91 or 2, I heard Eric Johnson on the radio.
On the radio?
Yeah. He was actually on the radio at that time. Like, it was when Cliffs of Dover, and I think even Trademark you could hear sometimes on the radio. But what I heard was a radio advert. He was coming to town, and he was opening for Rush. Oh. And, I dug Rush. I remember hearing Subdivisions, and that made me a fan of Rush when I heard that. But anyway, hearing about 10 seconds of Cliffs of Dover, that was kind of what solidified, man, if I could do that, that would be just incredible. I love the way that sounds. I love the way it makes me feel. It was so impressive. And I got that cassette for Christmas on that year, Avia Musicom. And oh man, that whole record is just unreal, and there's no one that sounds quite like him. He's inspired so many of us, but when you hear tunes like Trademark and East West and Righteous and Cliffs of Dover.
It's so full with ideas and all these chords he plays.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Love the texture and those harmonies in the chords that he chooses, and this inversions, and it's just like you didn't hear anything like that in the rock guitar kind of space, It was just in his tone. It's just, of course.
As a youngster, I at least was always waiting for the solo. Were you too, or maybe you're more broad-minded than I was?
Well, that, I guess, with the instrumental music thing, to me, it's like the whole tune is the solo in a way. I mean, I guess, there's the solo is where you take off a bit and go wild. But maybe I was drawn a bit more to the melodic side of things and how you could do that. Like, you can sing Cliffs of Dover or Trademark, the melodies in there. Those are the things that I was kind of drawn to more. And the solos were cool, but I liked the statements that were kind of in the melodies. They really drew me in.
So, but there you are with your secondhand classical guitar.
Trying to play Cliffs of Dover.
Now what?
Yeah, right. I was at that time too. When I got that first guitar, I was really into Metallica a lot. So I learned the Unforgiven tune with the finger picking at the beginning, and I learned Dust in the Wind by Van Kansas, full finger picking tune. Because I was just like, what can I do with this guitar? I can't really rock out, So, and, a few Led Zeppelin things that were finger picked, like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, or Stairway to Heaven, of course. Rain Song, and that was in an altered tuning. So that was kind of my first foray into playing in an altered tuning at all. But in any case, I have a cousin that is about 10 years older than me, and he's way into guitar. So when I was starting out in those early days, he was showing me some stuff, and then I finally got a Washburn electric guitar, and he started to show me
Nuno kind of style, or
it was kind of an entry level something or other. I don't even remember it. It was a long time ago, but he showed me, some Van Halen stuff and like how to do tapping, like Eruption, and I was so involved and he's a bit of a collector. So he gave me about 300 guitar magazines that he collected through the 80s. Guitar for the Practicing Musician, the Guitar World, and Guitar Player, and Frets, all these issues. And so I would just go in there, dive in, and learn like Every Breath You Take or something. And just start to learn what are these add 9 chords or suspended second chords and things, and learning texture and color and all these variety of tunes that I grew up with through the 80s through these magazines. So yeah, that was kind of how I got into the electric. And
was it a big part of your life back then, or from that moment onwards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I actually dropped out of high school when I was 16, and played guitar pretty much all day. And I discovered Dream Theater in about 93 or 4 when Images and Words came out, and they had pulled me under. This was my like introduction to prog in a big way, prog music, and just became a massive fan of them. And then their follow up to that, Awake, I used to just sit in my room and try to play along with those cassettes all day long.
I hear the first drum. Fill
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now it's like, yeah.
Oh man, incredible, man! I just love that band, and I never would have guessed that I'd be like friends with those guys now. It's been an unbelievable life. That's one component that's just surreal to this day.
It's nice to hear you tell that, man.
Yeah,
it's nice if somebody tells that. It's been an unbelievable life. Like
it has, man. It's I'm from this. The middle of nowhere in Kansas, over in the States, and having this love with the guitar and things, I always just hoped my wife would have a good job or something. So I just.
Does she?
She's okay. Yeah. But never would have imagined all these things unfolding, and fortunately the YouTube thing and all that happened. So it's
okay. We're going to talk about that
we get
later on, because sure. you just mentioned briefly. Oh, I dropped out of high school, but
yeah,
tell me what really happened. Like you don't just do that, right? I mean,
actually, both of my siblings did as well. I don't know. I've always loved learning. I'm curious, I like to learn new things and curious about the world and how things work. And so I've always enjoyed learning, but I've always kind of enjoyed learning on my own. And so I guess school was always a bit weird for me, the social components and the way people can be sometimes with cliques or whatever, like this is, we're these people, you're their people, blah, blah, blah. And I just, I try to get along with everybody, and so in some ways you kind of get cast out if you're like that in some ways, some circumstances.
If you don't make a decision, you mean?
Like, yeah, if you're not with us, you're against us or something, So I just kind of didn't really like that vibe, so I just said, well, I'm going to not go to school and skip the bus ride. And parents get upset, of course. But I saw that there's in the States, you can get this thing called a general education diploma, which kind of is a summary of your high school education. If you can pass this test, they give you this diploma. So I passed that and got the diploma for that, and just went on my way. I started teaching guitar at 17 after that. So something to do.
What's striking to me is that you're able at that age already to make a decision. Because not every 16-year-old, if they're unhappy, feels like, okay, I can make a decision now and to walk in our path. Like, is that a character trait of yours?
Yeah.
And has it always been like that?
Yeah, I think so. About if there's things that I feel strongly about and it seems clear to me, then I'm pretty decisive. Just, well, I'm done with that. Or, whatever situation, or, if there's certain people you just don't want to be around anymore, it's like, okay, I'm kind of decisive like that. And
your parents are like that as well? Maybe one of them?
Yeah, my dad was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I get some of my mom's personality too, with the wanting to be friends with everyone. That's a very...
But that's also an interesting combination. You want to be friends with everybody, but if you feel it's not like that anymore, I easily quit.
Space.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine. I think it's good for my mental health. And
of course,
you don't want to waste too much time or energy on things that aren't going to be productive or useful or meaningful.
Did that mindset help you also with playing the guitar? Because that also must have given you focus, right? Like if you can cut out all the bullshit, like, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that sort of focus with the guitar, I think it even helps me on stage, you know, and I almost feel like I go into a different place, you know, and you're just so wrapped up in the music. It's almost like the whole world doesn't exist. You could be anywhere. You could be in front of 10 people. You could be in front of 300 people or 20,000, whatever. And it's just that the music and that moment. And are you expressing it correctly? Are you, you know, letting yourself come through the music? Yeah, I think that's all tied in together with the way my mind works anyway. So, but learning guitar, I always believed in myself too. I never really thought like there's anything I can't do. And maybe that's extremely arrogant to say, but I don't know. But I just believed that if I dedicate myself to it, you know, and work on these things, it'll just happen, you know. But it was never really a choice too. At the same time, it was just felt like I love this. I'm doing it. That's all there is to it, you know. There's no other choice, no other option. And like I said, you know, earlier, hopefully my wife would have a good job. And if that was the case and things didn't work out for me, maybe I would just teach guitar lessons, you know, something like that. But, you know, I wasn't going to work in an office or something. It's just, I'd lose my mind, I think.
Yeah. I myself had to learn that process, you know, like that you can actually choose, and you know, but if it's that strong with you, so there's nothing else.
Yeah. It seems like life and death almost, or something. Like if you're going to be alive and enjoying your time while you're here, you've got to find what you love, you know, and chase it. So
okay, so you must have also felt I'm actually quite good at this.
Maybe at some point, you know. You know, I had friends and stuff that we played in a band in high school, so we would be playing like Rage Against the Machine and some Metallica and a couple of Dream Theater, kind of a mix. But you know, I tried to tackle the lead guitar stuff, you know, and see if I could get those things happening. So I started to feel like, oh, maybe I am a little better than average at this, you know. And I did want to be good at it too, because the players I admired were so great, you know, and I wanted to be able to play like them. And even if nobody ever heard me, you know, if I could play Cliffs of Dover in my room, I would just be so great, you know, just that idea alone. So I did want to play well, and be able to express myself like the people I admired.
So when did you grasp a little bit like, okay, it's actually the fingerstyle kind of music that allows me to express myself best?
That is an excellent question. So I always like to talk about my heroes, you know, on the fingerstyle world, because I feel like some of them might not be as well known as they should be. So when I was 16, that cousin of mine I mentioned earlier, he told me about this acoustic guitarist who was coming to do a workshop, and we'd never heard of him, but you know, it was something to do, and let's check it out. And it's the guitarist Preston Reed was the guy that came, and so we went and saw him, and that was another just absolutely pivotal moment, you know, for me. And seeing him playing over the top of the guitar neck and hitting the guitar body and doing slap harmonics and tapping, but then also doing straight finger picking, and it was just one guy. I was so just mind blown by what he was doing, and you know, went to meet him after and shook his hand, and it was 30 years ago now, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. And trying to go home and replicate what he was doing, but you know, I didn't realize he was in altered tunings and stuff, so it was just sounding like awful. Yeah, what was that chord? Just wasn't happening, you know. So I kind of was like, well, I guess I'll just stick with the electric guitar. I don't know how that's ever going to happen. But then a year later, I started teaching guitar lessons, and at this guitar store, there was a VHS cassette of Preston Reed, the style of Preston Reed or something like that. And I bought it, and that was like just revelation, you know, and seeing how, this is how you do it. You put in different tunings, and you play over the top of the neck so you can hit the guitar body and do this drum stuff at the same time. And so I learned like 4 or 5 of his tunes from that cassette. And then I've always had a pretty good ear, so I went to his album and then tried to learn more of the tunes, you know, after I had some of the technique under my fingers. But so he was the first guy that made me think the acoustic guitar is pretty incredible, and you can use it, you know, for rhythmic ideas, percussion, you know, but then also you can get melody and chords going kind of all at the same time. And that seemed like this could be the way for me to express myself musically, Yeah.
You don't have to choose also.
Yeah.
Like it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything there. And you don't have to rely on bandmates to show up on time to practice or where. So that's good.
And then of course you must have discovered also like the Michael Hedges and all.
Yes, Michael is definitely my biggest influence. And I still listen to him all the time. Just a genius for me. And so I discovered his music in 1997, and it was through going through those magazines that my cousin had given me. And so there was a few issues with Michael, and on one of them, he was on the front with a harp guitar. I said, "What the hell is that?" And so I opened it. It was a Guitar Player magazine, and I opened it up, and Guitar Player used to have these sound page little records. They're like floppy in the middle. And so I pulled it out, and Steve Vai was on one side, and then Michael Hedges on the other. And put it on, and he was playing a tune called "Because It's There" on the harp guitar, and that again was like, wow. I don't know what is going on here with his playing, but that's incredible. And so I went through a few more magazines, and there was one with a transcription for a tune called "The Naked Stalk" from him, and I started to try to play it, and just sounded unreal. So I went out and got his records that I could find, and was so impressed. And then I put on particular Aerial Boundaries, and that's the first track on that album. And after just starting it was a moment that I don't think I've ever had before or since, really, where it was just like, I have no idea what the hell he is doing. Like, how is that one man, and what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
Like these tapping notes, but then there's he's muting them, and then the string stopping he does later. I didn't know any of this at the time, but then after I've learned it since, after failing many times, but it just blew my mind like nothing ever has before. Like, how is that one man doing that? And I loved that, that it was one guy being able to do all that stuff. That was interesting from a guitar perspective, but his music is just so powerful to me. Like there's some pieces I can't help but cry, it just is so emotive. And
does it give you that when you mentioned I listen to it all the time? Does it happen every time, or?
Yeah, I guess, I don't listen to it every day, I guess, or anything, but, in a certain mood, I'll put one on, and it's just, yeah.
You still discover new things in
maybe not. No, maybe not necessarily that, but it's just the emotive power of it. I don't know what it is. It hits me in a way like no other. I mean, if he could have done that stuff like on a xylophone or a slide trombone or something, and I would still be probably bawling my eyes out. It's just something about his compositions, the notes he chose, and the harmony overall that is so powerful to me, and I just can't get over it.
So you kind of dove into that world, so to say. What did it take for you to be able to be confident enough, like, because you played in bands and all, but to step on stage by yourself for the first time? So bring me back to that moment, if you will.
Yeah, man, that's a good question too, because, I've always been a bit shy too, really, like in school and in public. I'm not really overly loud, or, I try to be respectful, all this kind of subdued kind of personality. So to go on stage and just be alone up there playing guitar was pretty nerve-wracking at first. But I used to play in these coffee shops all the time back home, and then I got this regular kind of gig at this bar downtown on Wednesday nights, and it was always kind of the same 8 people over there, and that's all that's in the whole place, and they're talking, and you're just playing in the corner. But just having that time to be in a public place playing the guitar, it just felt more and more comfortable. I did that for a couple of years, and I don't know, it just seemed to be okay as time went on. And then you start to get more confident, in yourself and in your music and your playing. And so, talking to the audience and just kind of making jokes or something about the music or how you came up with something. all that stuff, and just trying to relate to people. That is something I think I've always tried to do. Like I said, trying to be friendly with everyone. So that's kind of I've had that on my side, but I've always been also shy if I'm out in a crowd or whatever. So being on stage feels a little more comfortable.
So you have space there to not be shy, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Just kind of finally say whatever you want. And mostly through the music, that's how I say what I want, I guess.
So was it, what time are you talking now? Like, because then there was this new thing called YouTube, right?
Yeah. So I'm talking kind of late 90s, 96, 7, 8. I started to play, in those places and started to write a couple of my own tunes even. And so, yeah, that was me through the late 90s, super early 2000s.
So you were teaching also?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I went to university for one day and dropped out.
What did you study?
I was going to do composition. I wanted to do guitar. I thought that's what they offered, but they didn't have a guitar, degree that you could get. So I was like, I guess I'll do composition. And then after one day, I just had that similar feeling of high school and stuff. And like, man, I don't know if this is for me. So dropped out. And I was able to get some money back. So that was good.
Oh, nice. If you dropped out after one day.
One day, okay, we'll refund you some. But yeah, so I had started teaching guitar lessons again at that point. So I was like 19, I think, somewhere in there, 19, maybe 20. But yeah, so teaching guitar and doing the occasional gig around town.
So, but because I don't know, when did YouTube rise? I don't know. When was
it's about
that?
20 years ago, I think. Maybe 2005, maybe 4.
Because before that, then your world was kind of small, so to say, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's a couple little things I could mention that before the YouTube thing. I competed in this international guitar competition thing for fingerstyle guitar, and I got 3rd place in 2001. And this guy in Taiwan had heard about me, and so I actually flew to Taiwan. Had to get my passport and all this stuff, and go all the way from Kansas to Taiwan. It was a real kind of culture shock, but it was my first time, getting out and performing. And so I toured around there in 2003. And then in 2004, I went to the Canadian Guitar Festival, and this kind of ties right into YouTube. So I went up there because they had this contest as well. And one of my big heroes was performing, a guy named Don Ross, really excellent Canadian fingerstyle player, funky. And so I thought, well, I could see him play finally, and I'll try this contest. So I went there, and I got 2nd place in the contest, and Don was one of the judges. So I went up to him and said, hey, I was contestant number 11 today. My name's Andy McKee. I just got 2nd place. He's like, oh, you were number 11. I had you ranked as number 1, man. And I was like, oh my God, my hero really digs what I did.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of became friends. And then he introduced me to this record label that was just starting out based in Milwaukee called Candyrat Records. And so I joined up with them because Don was on there. And I was like, oh, great. Be on a label with Don Ross. And so they're the ones that had the idea to shoot videos and put them on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Because, you've been to Taiwan, Canada, Kansas, New Mexico for a little while. And then boom, the whole world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that must have been surreal, right? Like, so many people.
Yeah.
Because you entered their rooms, but they came right back also, right? Because they can comment. And can you tell me how that was like to all of a sudden, like, have a huge audience?
Yeah, that was very, very mind-blowing and surreal. I mean, I had shot these videos in Milwaukee for Candyrat and put them on YouTube and all that, and went back home in Kansas, and I went back to teaching guitar. I think I had a student that hadn't shown up, so I just had free time, and so I went on the computer at the guitar store there. I went to YouTube, and I saw that drifting was on the front page of YouTube, and I called the guy at the record label and was like, man, go to YouTube, man. This drifting's on the front page. And, it was a bit different back then where it wasn't tailored to what you might like. It was just YouTube decided this is on the front page. So everybody that went there saw it. And
see a bunch of people who decided that maybe.
Yeah.
No algorithm or something.
Right. Actual humans said, oh, let's put this up. But, the guy at Rob is his name. He had said, man, you better buckle up. I don't know what this means. And He said, me neither. And my website crashed and people were buying tablatures and I was mailing them myself, at the post office. So I had to take here's all these and try sending stuff to Singapore and the Netherlands and all over the world. I was like, this is insane, man. And so, it was blown up like that, but I didn't have an agent or a manager or anything. And so, I was still working closely with Don Ross. And so we started touring around and I was, doing shows with him. We did an album together and we ended up at the NAMM show in Anaheim. You may be familiar with that.
Yeah.
And so there I made, some connections and got a manager and he hooked me up with an agency and then it started to go from there and able to start touring, booking shows all over. And, it's kind of been my focus ever since. I really haven't focused on the online thing, becoming a YouTuber or, even Instagram and whatever. Just really, really love playing live and getting to have that interaction in a space with people, it's been incredible.
So, what's the main takeaway from what did it give you as you look back on that?
The YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, essentially my career. I mean, it's hard to imagine how exactly all of this was going to pan out otherwise. It maybe some other way connections and things would have happened, but it was like a turbo button, or something. And then just all of a sudden everybody knew who I was, people that didn't even know fingerstyle guitar was interesting or people that didn't even like guitar, I mean, in particular, drifting was the big viral one. And I play it actually in a style completely reminiscent of Preston Reed. He really directly influenced that. So, but, doing the percussion and playing over the top of the neck, so many people had never seen anything like it, so I think it was visually stimulating, and then a bunch of people stuck around for the music too. So that's good.
One of them being Prince, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, you told this before, but come on.
Sure.
You're here now, so.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's really wild too. So, I think that was 2012, when all that happened. And so I think it was the first part of the year. My manager had called me and said, "Hey, I got an email from someone who says they're Prince's manager and he might be interested in working with you." And
that's funny how that goes, right? Managers emailing managers.
Yeah. It's always secondhand kind of.
Yeah.
So, but he wasn't sure if it was even legit, And I mean, of course, like, are you serious? Like, what? So,
how did he call himself? Did he call himself Prince or
Symbol?
Yeah.
So, my manager looked into it and it was all legit. And so I ended up flying to Minneapolis and going to this hotel and meeting with the bass player and the drummer. And we all went to Paisley Park and Prince, he had asked me if I was in control of my music and stuff. And he was really, he's always been an advocate for, artists being in control of what they do. And I was like, yeah, thanks, man. I actually am. And he said, what else, what do you have going on this year? And fortunately that year I was also doing some shows with Dream Theater, opening for them in Asia. I think that was, maybe April, something like that year. And, we jammed a bit, and played ping pong, which he was absolutely incredible at. He devastated everyone. And he always had a ping pong table backstage on the shows that we did. Yeah. He was really into it and really good. And so, he's like, all right, well, we'll get a hold of you and figure something out this year. And I was like, okay. And the next thing I know, he's booked 9 concerts in Australia and he wanted me to be the guitar player on it. And so I was just like, I don't know. It was really, really shocking in a way, like, wow, I'm going to go play guitar with Prince.
Because that must have been also a challenge, right? Like, did you question, like, how is my playing going to fit in?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I didn't know if he wanted me to do like the whole show like with him or kind of special guest thing. So it turned out being a kind of a special guest and coming in for a medley of about 5 songs.
Oh, yeah.
So, I did some electric guitar, but I also brought the harp guitar and acoustic guitars and stuff. And so, I went back one more time to Paisley Park and kind of rehearsed with the band and got this medley together. So we were all kind of set to go. But right before I went down to Australia to do the shows with him, I got one more email and it just said, "This is your outfit" in the subject line. And I had no idea there was going to be like an outfit. I should have assumed. I mean, you don't just go up with, cargo shorts or something and play with Prince. So I was like, what's this going to be? And, opened it up. And he said he wanted me to start the show as well and maybe play something in a major key, kind of funky. And I would be down at the end of the stage at the tip of the arrow kind of point and walk down the stage and maybe switch into a minor key and play something mysterious. And as you go, your 50-foot cape is going to unfurl behind you. 50 foot of cape. Oh, man.
You're like, yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah, this is my vibe. Totally. Oh, my God. They were going to project like supernovas and fire and stuff on the back of the cape. And oh, my gosh. I felt so weird about it, man. I mean, I could work with probably a million other guitar players, but I felt like, man, I don't know if I could do it. So I ended up not doing it. But
wow.
Yeah.
But that's you that can decide.
Yeah. I mean,
again, right?
I mean, yeah. And he could have said, well, screw you then, we're not doing it. Or,
because a lot of people will say, yes, I'll jump the
through a hoop.
Through a hoop, what do you want? Yeah.
Yeah. See there again. Yeah. I guess like the whole decisive thing, I mean, I want to be me while I'm alive. Nice, I don't want to do what you want to do necessarily. I want to do what I want to do. Yeah. I've always been that way.
So how did he react then?
So I sent him actually an arrangement of Purple Rain that I did, that I came up with while I was in the hotel. Just like, what can I do? What could be interesting and show that I appreciate his music. And, so I came up with this, on baritone, this Purple Rain arrangement and sent that to him. He said, okay, we could have you play that, and so they brought me up on an elevator sort of in the middle of the stage and played that, and then they'd go back down and just incredible,
Better.
Yeah, that works for me. That's cool. Oh man, 50 foot. I'd probably fall over it. I'm just like klutzy too. So I would be stumbling over a 50-foot cape, I'm afraid. But
we have some extra percussive moment there.
Final percussive, break the guitar. Yeah, but it was incredible. We did 3 shows in Brisbane and then 3 in Melbourne and then 3 in Sydney. And, a lot of times we do a show after the show. That was kind of something he would always do, like go to a nightclub, kind of 100 people kind of. And, I would do some acoustic stuff with the band. Like we did More Than Words one night and, we did Africa and various things. So, it was definitely an honor. I mean, he was such a brilliant musician and, just to be even kind of recognized by someone like that, much less getting to play with him and even getting to know him a bit, it was,
seeing that part of the industry from up close must have been interesting too, right?
Yeah, I found that it's not for me really, I mean, it's just a different world. It's a different approach. I'm not really a showbiz kind of guy, I'm not really into lights and fancy blah, blah, blah. I like this venue I played last night, it's
we're actually really, sitting here on the same stage where you played yesterday,
just right there. Yeah. And this is so intimate and cool. I loved it, man. It's like maybe 120 people or something fit in here. And, I actually sat down for this gig too, and it just felt so intimate. And I felt like I was directly in touch with everybody in this kind of vibe, and being able to just express myself like that. It's like a release for me. Like I'm letting everybody know this is me, and there's no bullshit. It's just me here with the guitar trying to say something to you. I love that.
That must have, because of people who play big stadiums like Prince, they must have do the after shows with a purpose.
Of that.
To touch this also. Right?
That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah. That's why he'd always do that. I mean, so those venues we were doing like 20,000 people or something insane, and then going to like 200 seat place after. It's nice.
But talking about learning experiences, we did a little stroll around town here and we talked about Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah.
You played with him, of course, also big fingerstyle hero for many, of course.
Yeah.
What did you learn from him?
So, man, that was one of the first opportunities I had. I think it was 2008 or 7. And this agent in the UK hit us up and asked if I'd like to open for Tommy, on a tour in the UK. I was like, oh my gosh, that'd be incredible. So, I flew out there and just had the idea in mind that I'd be driving myself all over, and so I'd rented a car and had a stack of MapQuest sheets of paper. And, I got in the rental car, and you're sitting on the right side of the car, and the rest of the car is over here, and you're driving on the left side of the road, and I'm trying to not kill myself. And, got to the first gig, and Tommy was there. Hey, mate, how you doing? Thanks for coming, blah, blah. And then it was like, so how are you getting around over here? And I was like, oh, I parked out there. I got a rental car and just thought I'd follow you. And he's like, oh, mate, you can just ride with me. I was like, oh, awesome. I don't got to worry about this. Because I thought maybe he'd have his fiance or just didn't want to bother him, But so we returned to my car the next day, and I just did that whole tour. He and I in a station wagon kind of thing. And there was a sound guy with a truck, with some stuff as well. But it was just he and I in this vehicle, going all around the UK and sharing music and getting to know each other. And I just learned that he's a wonderful man. He really is. He's dedicated to this. Like he has been since he was a child. He's been doing it since he was young with his family. And I've just never met anyone quite with that level of absolute dedication to doing this. It's inspiring. Just he's just a wonderful person. That's what I took away from him, and a wonderful player. We kind of go different ways a little bit on stage. Like I said, I'm kind of a little more subdued on. I don't really dress up or do wild lights or anything necessarily, but so he's got a bit more of a big show kind of thing.
Is he maybe a bit more there to conquer the audience, and you were like, I'm gonna do whatever, and if that might conquer the audience, okay, and if not, then not?
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't want to speak for him, but maybe that's true. We just maybe have different approaches on that in a way. I'm a little, I guess I try to almost be a part of the audience, or be with them or something. I don't know. I'm not too sure how to explain it, but we're a bit different in our approaches. So we've done a lot of stuff together. I've opened for him over here in the Netherlands before too, some years ago. We used to have the same manager, so he would pair us up a lot. I don't know. Yeah, I guess in some ways I feel like I'm not as focused on guitar stuff as people might think I am.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like they think I play guitar all day, or might think I'm obsessed with tone woods or guitar models or anything. I don't even like to talk about guitar normally, with friends or other guitar players. I'd rather know, so what have you been up to? What kind of stuff do you do besides guitar? I've heard you play guitar, so I feel like I know you in that sense. So I don't really geek out on gear and stuff, and so I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm a bit unusual when I'm around other guitar players that want to talk about that stuff, because I have no idea what they're talking about, like the new pedal board or something, or the new model of this guitar, or the type of wood that they used on the back and sides. I have no idea. I don't even care. I'm really more into the music, and it's hard for me to almost focus on the other stuff, which I probably should. I'm not saying it's not good to. I just can't seem to get my brain into it.
Hey, but yeah, that's also interesting. I mean, and then you are here in a podcast where it's only guitar players.
I know. Yeah, they're probably like,
well, we'll talk about life, right? So that's a different thing. Yeah. Hey, before, because you have to drive to your next gig. So there's two topics I want to discuss before we wrap this up. First, making an arrangement. Mike Dawes told me, like, if you make an arrangement of an existing song, you almost have to, at least he said, almost have to sacrifice the song, because you dive so deep into it. At one point, you almost start hating it, right?
Oh.
Is that the same because, for instance, Africa, like you did that famous arrangement, right? Is that the same way with when you make arrangements for the fingerstyle guitar?
Yeah, I guess there's a bit of that. You might get a bit worn out of the tune, but after time, it comes back around again. So, because I mean, when I try to do those arrangements, I try to focus on what part stands out and what's memorable, about that tune for each section, you know. So I'm not necessarily trying to cover all the bases all the time, because, you know, sometimes when you do that and you get super technical and you're trying to cover all the bases, you might lose some element of expression in there, and it just becomes this like technical showcase or something, you know. So, like on Africa, in the verse parts, you know, I kept it pretty simple. Just tried to get that melody, the vocal melody and the bass line. So, you know, the drums drop out at that time. But then if by dropping the drums out, it becomes more relevant when it comes back in, you know. Or during the chorus part, I'm strumming it to give that a different texture. You know, it's just strumming and getting those high harmonies with the chords behind it. And it's another kind of texture. So
that must be a challenge specifically with the fingerstyle guitar, because it's such a technical way of playing also, right? Like there's a lot of techniques going on at the same time, like that you find the core of the song.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I think you got to find the core. What makes this part great, and make that shine a bit here. And if you have to drop something out, it's okay. I think as long as everything's moving, everybody's like, oh yeah, I know that part. Oh yeah, that part, yeah. Right.
Yeah, you don't want to something like that.
Whoa, overload. Yeah, maybe. So that's my approach anyway. Try to grab those things that everybody recognizes and knows about the piece. Yeah.
Another thing, you lit up prior to this interview when we were talking about your guitar camp.
Oh, yeah.
Your face lit up.
Yeah.
So tell me about it.
Oh, I love it, man. And thanks for bringing it up in the podcast here. I love it, man. And I hope more and more people know about it, because it's such a great time, man. It's called Musicarium, and I've been doing it for 10 years. And this year it's in about a month from now in Lawrence, Kansas. So it's pretty close to where I live, but we've had it in New York, we've had it in California, had it in Nashville before. And we've moved it around sometimes just to get different spots. But anyway, it's such a blast. I usually get about 3 or 4 other fingerstyle guitar instructors, and we teach guitar over 4 days. And, you know, go through classes with each teacher and have lunch and dinner together, and then concert in the evening. And we have special guests that come in just for 1 day. So this year I've got Callum Graham, Trevor Gordon Hall, and Antoine Dufour as the sort of primary instructors, along with myself. And then I've also got a great player named Stephen Bannett, who I've known for over 20 years, and he just won the International Fingerstyle Guitar Championships. He's the guy I got my first harp guitar from, so he's a great harp guitarist. So he's coming in for a day, and then I've also got Greg Koch coming in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. God,
I want him as a guest here.
Sometimes. Oh, I'll tell him then. I said, you need to go on, man. Next time he's in the Netherlands, he needs to hook it up with you. Oh man, I'm such an admirer of his playing, and his sense of humor is just off the charts.
Also as a persona, he comes over like, okay, you have something to say, you know, like
yeah. His playing is so incredible. His ability to improvise, you know, in his style is unbelievable. But he does some like chicken picking type stuff too, you know, and kind of Jerry Reed type stuff. So I thought he'd be great to bring in for, you know, my camp's kind of focused on fingerstyle guitars. But
what's the main takeaway for you after? Okay, when the camp's over, you talked about guitars the whole week. But what else? Like, what does it give you? What does it mean in your career to have something like this going on?
Yeah, it's such a pleasure and a highlight every year. You know, I've got people that have been coming every year, so they're like friends, you see, you know, and like I said, we have these lunches and dinners together with the students. You know, we're not off in some other place. We're there with you and joking around and having beer, and, you know, and then the concerts, and then there's an open mic as well for the students if they want to get up and play, you know, and it's almost just like a party, you know, a little bit, but there's some guitar instruction as well. So it's just so much fun. I get to see my guitar player friends and then make new friends with, you know, people that are fresh and never come to the camp before. And, you know, at all of my shows too, I go out at the end of the night and I like to meet people, you know, and hear, you know, their stories or whatever they'd like to say. And so, you know, the camp, it's actually getting to spend 4 days with folks that are like-minded and are moved by this kind of guitar playing. And it's just such a treat, man. I love it.
Does seem like an incredible life.
Yeah, right? Man, I am so lucky. That's all I know.
Yeah, nice ending. Thanks so much for your time, Andy McKee.
Very welcome, man.
And listeners also, thanks for listening.
Thanks.